Welcome everybody to Next in Line, where we do everything we can to make sure that we pay it forward. I'm super excited and stoked about this to get Kenny. Kenny, don't let me chop up. I don't want to mess up your last name. So do me a favor. No one's going to introduce themselves better than you will and who you are and your background. Do you mind sharing with us, the community out there that we support, who you are and, your title, and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, you bet. Cesar, first of all, I appreciate being on your podcast. Next in Line, I'm super excited about this, and I really like the goal that you're going for, paying it forward. I think it totally makes sense. And this time in my career, that's what it's all about. So, yeah, a little bit about me. So it's Kennie Rotunda, and been in IT for just about 30 years, close to it. Hard to believe all that.
Time flies,
so
right?
It does. And then given the goal of your podcast, I do want to make sure what I'm giving to your audience is relevant. And I'll try to stay focused on that and not make this sort of a verbal PowerPoint, if you will, of different terms and buzzwords and everything else. So absolutely, keep it real.
I love that. I mean, that's the persona we want. That's why we started this thing, and, at a round table, just having a discussion about it was the one thing that we wanted to keep. It was just keeping it real and real authentic, stories. Definitely, PowerPoint's not in our DNA. So I love that once you're ready.
Awesome.
Do you mind sharing with me? I got a couple questions, and then we'll bounce around. We'll always have a lot of fun with this stuff. So, I love asking this to every CIO that I talk to, or, any executive I talk to, is what was your first IT job? How did it all happen?
Yeah, well, it happened by mistake for me. A good mistake when I look back on it now. I was actually more of an interest in art and pursued a degree in graphic art. At that time, this would have been when I was going for my degree, it was like the late 80s, early 90s. At that time, there were a lot of diploma mills, if you will. So you had to be careful, which 2-year school you went to, And I fell victim to one of those, and I won't mention any names, but ended up going to a school for graphic arts for 2 years, graduated, and then landed a job at Valpak Coupons. It's based out of Largo, Florida. It's a great company, great people. I landed there because the school I went to had a job placement program, and they had a need there for an opaque artist. Now, I had no idea what the heck an opaque artist was. I didn't know if I was meant to be invisible or what that meant. Because at first, at the end of the name, I thought, I'll try it out. I think it was like $5.25 an hour, which was could have been, that's $1 million to me back at that time.
That was good money back then.
Big money, exactly. I didn't grow up with a lot of real, means. Didn't have the luxury I wasn't lucky enough to go to a good, solid college or university. And I thought, well, this is good enough for me. Landed there. I found out what an opaque artist was, by the way. Literally, we would take the negatives. This is kind of pre-computer, more than anything else. We would take the negatives, that would later become coupons. And anywhere that there's supposed to be black and there wasn't, we'd take that little black marker, and fill in the space so it became black. That's an opaque artist.
Wow. Okay. And there was any certification required for that?
Yeah, it was pretty light skill work for sure. And we worked on light tables, and half the people in there had little ashtrays on their light table, and they're smoking cigarettes all day long.
Oh, goodness.
Back in the day.
They used to smoke in the office.
Yeah. So anyway, I was lucky enough to be at right place at the right time. Being a a coupon manufacturing company, they got some Macs in. They were known for graphic arts. So we got a lot of SE30s in there, Macintosh SE30s. They didn't have any IT department to speak of. It was before IT was invented, if you will. And they knew I had a little bit of, I guess, skill, developing film in these big machines. And they said, hey, maybe he can help us with some of these computer things. So I said, cool, I'll try it out. We didn't have any internet, didn't have any research tools of any means. So I just opened the manual that came with the computer to kind of understand how I'm supposed to put these memory chips into this computer. And then that was it. That was the start of it. So I became tech support.
That was, and also when that type of role back then, it became all things, anything related to a computer or, copiers or whatever it may be, phones, it was the IT guy's responsibility, right?
Absolutely. That was the time when, nobody else knew computers. The tech support guy probably knew the most. And we weren't very humble back then, right? It was just like the SNL skit, move, get out of the way. You don't know what you're doing. Let the IT person handle it. Yeah, I wasn't that person, but there was a lot of people like that.
Oh yeah.
And, so, it was a good time. It was a great opportunity. And I would say recognize those opportunities, take advantage of the opportunities, know when they're in your face. And then from there, taking advantage of that opportunity, I went down the certification route. CCNA, Citrix WinFrame certification, if you remember WinFrame.
Did you say CNA?
CCNA. So the Citrix certification, Microsoft MCSE twice, depending on which version of Microsoft solutions we're looking at.
Do you have any Novell? Do you seek any Novell certifications in there back in the day?
Did not, thankfully. But I did do a conversion for another company I worked for, Checkers Restaurants. I worked for their headquarters for about a year or so, and they had Novell and converted them to a Windows NT4 structure.
That was a lot of work back then. I remember we got a lot of opportunities. I've been in IT for some time, and I remember those type of migrations.
Yeah, we had at Valpak, eventually we had a server room, and we had these Conley RAID arrays. There were these huge towers, storage, right? Like RAID 5. And for those who are listening or familiar with RAID 5, it was striping with parity. It was the latest and greatest technology. But we heard a total of, let me get this right, 5 gigs or something across that whole giant unit, which cost over $100,000. Oh, it was crazy. And then literally, if all those drives failed, the first protocol is keep it running, slide the drive out, and start banging on it with a screwdriver to get that thing working again. And then, hopefully it'll start spinning.
That was that's a pretty, was that the troubleshooting technique? So just
step one.
That sounds like, back in the day and when I was trying to fix my car and learning how to do an oil change or anything with solution with the car, old car, just bang on it and all of a sudden magically it works. Or just reboot. Right? Reboot is a good old faithful one.
Yeah. Work for your time. Yeah.
And I got a question for you about that.
Go ahead.
You mentioned you went the certification route. I remember that time when, the tech schools, like everybody was coming out with these boot camps, the certifications. And my challenge with them, look, I'm all about, getting those validations and getting certs and things like that. But they were really the marketing targeting folks that had traditionally no experience, but promising them like big dollars at the end of that after the certification. And that was, to me, that was an issue for me because we were trying to place people and they would come to us saying, we want X dollars, but it had zero experience, but it had certification. And my clients want people with experience. Certification is almost second. So, I think they got a lot of bad rap for that. I mean, how do you feel like in the certification route today?
I think certification is a great complement to your experience. And it can't be a replacement for it. And I think in certain situations, it can kind of give you that boost you need just to show that, hey, you've got this experience. You've also disciplined enough to get the certification, which does take a lot of time and discipline to learn it, know it, and test out on it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's not super easy. From a hiring process, I'll jump over that for a second. From a hiring process, what I look for in candidates is I don't look for, no offense against, other CIOs or anything else, but I don't look for what amazing university they graduated from. I really don't care. I want them to have a degree. I think that's important. And eventually I did go back to school and get my 4-year degree in information technology. But my main thing I'm looking for is somebody that's got the grit within the IT space and that's proven themselves. Somebody that can really look at that opportunity, take advantage of it, and learn on their own. Because that person who can learn on their own, I know is going to be somebody that I can rely on within my IT organization to succeed. They're going to work really well within the gray area, as one of my previous leaders used to call it. So working within that gray area is super important. When everything's not fully defined, you've got to be able to figure out a way to define it.
Wow. That's powerful, man. That's a real good nugget there. I got to write that down because I will tell you that's, to me, being responsible for, self-development, especially in IT, has to be at the top of the list because this business evolves really quickly.
It does.
Right? All the time. And you're right. There's a lot of gray areas in our business. But that's a really good. I'm glad that you have that outlook and don't just only look at credentials. That you look for those intangibles that people need, because that's when you're in a firefight, you want intangibles, not just certs.
Yeah.
Right. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for. So did that come? Was that always on the case for you, like to interview like that, or did that come over time? Did you kind of look for that day one, like when you're looking for people, or did it kind of like, you know what, I'm going this route versus that?
No, it was day one. It was day one for me because that's the route I went. And more, I would see people who got the certification without the experience, or people, graduated, graduated with a computer science degree, but didn't have the experience, and they didn't really add up. They weren't super effective. The experience matters, and how they got that experience is super important.
You just made me think of another question, and has a lot to do with a lot of this new generation coming out of school. Because there's a recent number, I think, in the neighborhood of 70 something percent of grads, computer science guys are coming out, or people coming out with these degrees that are struggling to get work because of AI.
Wow.
Entry level folks. What type of advice you might have for some of those folks out there?
So that's a really interesting one. So my son fits perfectly within that realm. So he graduated from Western Colorado University. It's in Gunnison, Colorado. A computer science degree. Did great. Graduated in 3 years.
Awesome. Wow.
Did fantastic. Yeah. And, he studied programming. So the interesting thing is, before he went into school, I said, hey, you should do this, man. Go for your programming. Go for computer science, study programming, learn it. He already knew some of that before even getting in there. He's great at what he does. But I had no idea that when he graduated, the world would have changed. And that's exactly what happened. By the time he got out of college, suddenly AI is there. And more and more and more, you're seeing firsthand how AI can replace a job, especially entry level. And entry level programmers are going to have an incredibly hard time, because you can throw stuff into AI, it'll spit out some code. To get beyond where AI is right now for an entry level coder is going to be a challenge. You got to have that experience.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And you're right. That's another thing. But going back to your son real quick, what I like is, I got to put this out there, man, a shout out for him, because sounds like a high draft pick to me. I mean, 3 years, finished a 4 degree in 3 years, smoked it. This kid sounds like he just needs an opportunity to get into the door.
He does. His name is Kennie Rotunda. That's a little plug. But I'll say this as well, and I hopefully I've given him some valuable coaching along the way on how he can get there. Right. So he landed a good opportunity at Fidelity Investments, just in terms of customer relations. And to get there, they had a great program to take anybody who graduates. And I would encourage other people to consider this as well. Take anybody that graduates from college, doesn't really matter the degree, and they'll train you. He got his FINRA certifications. That's a requirement. If you don't pass those tests, they let you go. He got his FINRA certifications. He's been working there for a couple of years now. But it's obviously not his end goal. He still wants to get into IT and stuff like that. So he's got some certifications under his belt, again, to sort of complement do what he can to get there. And he's got a little bit of internship as well. And I think that's important for anybody to kind of look at what other options they have in terms of kind of boosting up their experience and making their portfolio and their resume look great.
That's great advice. Actually, I give that similar advice there too. I tell a lot of guys, you know what? I know you have a degree in X. Just get in the door. If you get in the door, volunteer. Knock on the doors. People love, I'm sure if you have somebody internally in your organization that's a kid out of school, let's say, that's bright, and he might be doing a position outside of IT, but he's knocking on your door. Hey, I can volunteer. I would love to learn. Can I shadow? I'm pretty sure that you're not going to turn that kid away. You know? You're better to fight inside the ring versus outside. That's what I try to tell these guys.
That's a good point. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm a Fight fan, so you got to forgive me. big time. I just think that that is those skills that he's earning will get you. They are relatable to what he's in any department as a programmer, developer, or architect. Whatever he decides to do, those are transferable things that he's going to be able to gain from that. So it's not going to be a detour or whatever, right? I look at it as opportunity. Has he volunteered yet? He's knocked on that door. Maybe I'd love to get a chance.
He's done a little bit of that. And actually at Loenbro, the company I work for now, we brought him in as a part-time intern to kind of get some of that experience going. Didn't work correctly for me, so that's all good. But I think he provided value for some areas of the business, which wasn't direct coding. It's helpful, it's important to know and to connect with anybody you can to kind of dig in and get that experience.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So many kids get enamored with these titles, and they have to have X. And, then you see also with social media, a lot of them see the result, not really what it took to get there. That's the big thing that I have.
Right.
So speaking of that, I think that'd be a good question, a segue to, journey to, executive suite. You've been in the business for 30 years. You have a lot of, obviously work experience. You've been in a lot of different industries. How was the journey to was it a straight line, or did you have, setbacks? Did you have the bob and weave, going back to the fight game a little bit, but how did it all happen for you?
The line wasn't real straight. It was kind of a zigzag, but eventually I got there, and that was never my goal. Never my goal to move into senior leadership or even management. To be honest, I started out I wanted to have fun. I liked the technology space. It was so new and fresh. I was very excited to be within IT, and I felt privileged to be within IT. And I started out, as I said, doing tech support. Eventually managed the tech support organization.
Okay.
Which was great. And then from there, moved into solutions engineering, and then became a sysadmin for many number of years. Windows primarily, and then HP Unix as well, which I don't think HPUX is around anymore, but yeah. And then, eventually I came to a fork in the road. That's kind of the zig or the zag. I really did have kind of an interest in software development, but didn't have much experience other than Perl scripting and these sort of utility programming you would do as a system administrator. So I'd never call myself a developer by any means. But I came to that fork in the road. I was okay, I can be a developer and I start over, right? Basically with salary and everything else, or I can move down the management route. And it really was a tough decision. But I decided, at that time, as I started having, a young family and everything else, my first kid, it's I don't know if I can afford to really take a step back to go down this path. So I went down the management path.
Okay.
I managed a team of software developers for 7 years, never knowing a lick of code to speak of. One would say, well, how could you do that if you don't know exactly what they're doing? And definitely was a challenge. And looking back, maybe I wasn't the right fit, to be honest, for that position, but I made it work. It was another opportunity. Take advantage of that opportunity, right?
Learn.
So what I could provide is direction and understanding of what the solution should look like. I studied the different structures, agile programming, XP, different methodologies, and in terms of how you manage, a software development team and how they would manage their own processes, and just sort of framed all of that up. And then obviously super important that I have a lead person who really does know the code. So
you can kind of right. You had your go-to code guy. But let me tell you, you mentioned something that I think is probably the most critical piece of, programming is one thing, right? Those guys, let's say they're the artist, right? They're going to paint, create the stuff. But that liaison on defining requirements and translating and making sure that the outcomes are what the business wants. That's, to me, that's where the outcomes are they're won and lost there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So I'll pivot over to that as well then. So that was kind of another fork, right? You move into management, that's fine. But really the pivotal point for me after that is when I was the director of IT business relationship management for Travelport, a company called Travelport. I was there for 20 years. I can't believe I was there for that long, but great company again, great people. And in that position, I was able to kind of define, I worked for the CIO at that time, define how we manage relationships with areas of the business. Structurally, I had this organization, and then within the organization, I had business relationship managers. Think of them as sort of internal consultants. Sure. And I would assign those BRMs to each one of the various business areas. So finance had somebody, HR had somebody, etc. And that person literally was to live and breathe their world and understand their world so that we as an IT organization can better understand what their needs are, sure, what their strategies are, and then to shape those into effective requirements and then feed those back into the rest of the IT organization. That was pivotal for Travelport.
Was that a new department created at Travelport at that time?
Yeah, it was a new department. It solved a big problem that they had at Travelport IT that many companies have had. Maybe some of them still do have. And that is what would happen is typically the IT organization was a bit more reactive. They would just do whatever the business asked them to develop. Sometimes the business side would actually solution it for them, which is a big problem. never do that.
Sounds dangerous.
You'll end up with a mess. Yeah. And you'll end up
Yeah,
with all this technical debt and everything else because you just did whatever the business wanted to. Right.
that's right.
Without truly understand what the business needs. You would just go and do what they want instead of what they need. And that's the key point. And effectively, then it became a failure for both the business as well as IT. We had a problem supporting the solutions. We delivered solutions that were inadequate. We took too long to get these solutions out. And so creating this organization, I think, was pivotal and reshaping how IT can really provide value back to the business instead of being that cost center.
Wow. So that I remember that, the BRM roles when they first started, because it was originally like, and it's still there, like BAs, business analysts, right? So did you have business analysts underneath the BRM? Okay.
Exactly. So I had, business relationship manager and then a BA under that. So BRM is strategy. It's relationship building. It's really understanding the processes that function uses. And then as it filters down a little bit further, you get to that BA. Okay. We have a direction. We have a strategy. We need the BA to figure out what those requirements look like.
Okay. Beautiful. I mean, that to me, when that started happening, I've seen a lot of organizations adopt those models, and the outcome is we're more successful, right? Less damage, proactive. And then you got these cool, these folks that became little like domain experts in that space. So that must have been how long of a run was that for you at Travelport?
That was only about, I think about a year and a half in that particular role, only because COVID happened and Travelport is travel tech company and nobody was traveling. So half the company got let go. After 20 years, I took my paper. I was fine with it. It's one of the best things ever for me. It forced me to explore different opportunities. But I will say I took that same discipline then and applied it at Course Tech, which is the next company I worked for. The leader of that time is still an awesome friend of mine. Great company as well. Love Course Tech and all the people that work there. And then interestingly, Loenbro came up. It kind of came out of left field. They had some challenges. It's an industrial construction company at that time, primarily. And I was approached and they asked if I might be interested in helping transform the organization, a little bit on the business side and a lot on the technical side to make sure that they could move past a little bit of the old school reactionary laptops and printers and network and that sort of thing into something that's a little bit more mature within that space, like business systems and data and everything else. They hadn't gotten into that yet.
Okay.
I love the challenge. And again, applying that same discipline of business relationship management, I was super eager to work at Loenbro. And I've been there for 3 years.
Tailor-made. That was a tailor-made opportunity. I believe in that. As I got older, in my opinion, like I look back and I say, okay, that makes sense now. Those things happen for a reason, right?
Yeah. I absolutely agree that.
How did they get in touch with you? Man? Did they just like all of a sudden, like how did it all happen? Did they just recruit you or did you get recommended? Just tap on the shoulder? Like how did it all happen for you?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. So I was not looking for a job. I was happy at Course Tech. Like I said, it's great working there. And then a recruiter contacted me kind of covertly, said, "Hey, we got this company." And, out of the gate, I said, "No, I'm not interested. I'm not looking. I'm happy where I'm at." Wow. She was very persistent. And it's kind of like one of those deals. Hey, just have a conversation. It's like, all right, I'll have conversation.
Have coffee.
Yeah, have coffee. And then the opportunity kind of blossomed more and more with each conversation. And I said, you know what? I'm not a spring chicken anymore. And I need to challenge myself and I need to look at how I can provide more value than what I potentially was providing at Course Tech.
Bring me to another one that I love asking. And let me tell you, like a lot of people choose to be, and nothing against any company, right? Because our Course Tech, I know Matt, all those guys, they're wonderful people, but comfort over risk, right? It's a risk. I mean, you made your way to Course Tech. You love what you're doing over there. You took the same things that you were doing you implemented at Travelport, right? And you're kicking tail, taking names, and you're good, right? You take a risk. What made you like? I guess that was another fork, right? You could have stayed comfortable or take that risk.
Right.
What was the one thing that made you feel that take that risk?
That's a good question. You know what? Growing up and even early in my career, I lacked a lot of confidence, right? And I think as I progressed in my career, with each stage of the career, I grow that confidence a little bit more and more. And it was so satisfying to do that. And I understood that that doesn't come without risk. If you just want to be comfortable in a job, you're not going to learn and grow. You're not going to grow your competence. You're not going to grow your skill. You're not going to grow anything. You're just going to be comfortable. And I've had success with that risk as well. So taking those chances, moving from art into this weird IT thing, took the risk. So I've always done that. I've always been okay with it. And thankfully, it's always worked out, knock on wood, so far.
Well, well, I mean, you're doing great. I mean, just the path. I love when you said at the beginning, people want to hear again, they look at the results, right?
Yeah.
They see the result, but like the whole zigzag, your first, art major to this, I still never heard of that job title before. You told me earlier before. Well, I forgot what it was even called, but what you did there. Yeah, there you go. And then just becoming that general IT guy to jumping and implementing a whole new strategy and a whole new department with BRM that translated into an opportunity with Course Tech to get tapped on the, thankfully, she was persistent enough. And I always commend, I'm a recruiter by nature and, just in our industry. And I respect that because sometimes it's just a matter of just I just want to share the information with you. Let me put it in your court. And my job is to make sure my responsibility to my clients is to make sure I'm talking to the best talent out there for them. Right. And look what happened. So how long have you been with Loenbro now?
So I've been with Loenbro 3 years now. 3 years. Company, when I first started, had roughly 1,200 employees, mainly in industrial construction, working on oil refineries and pipeline. And we expanded the Coors Brewery as well. Anything there's welding involved, that sort of thing, scaffolding, all that kind of stuff. But in the last couple of years, we did more of a pivot. And this was on the heels of purchasing a company in the Phoenix area called Switch Electric. So now what we do is mostly electrical for data centers.
Ooh.
So huge pivot for Loenbro. And again, they took a chance. And I totally respect that. And it worked out. So we've grown like crazy. We have about just over 3,000 employees now after 3 years.
1,200. Wow. Congrats, man. Yeah. I mean, that's also comes with a lot of work.
It does.
A lot of late nights. What do you think? A couple weekends every now and then?
Yeah.
But everything at Loenbro, everything falls under your purview, right? Anything. So from support to BRM to development. It stops with you. Right. It's your responsibility. So you have the keys to the kingdom there.
And thanks. What's nice about it is I was able to start with, not intending to brag here by any means. Yeah. It's important to be humble too. It's a lesson learned. Be super humble. But I was able to start with a blank slate, which is great. For the most part, I mean, they had an IT organization. It was solid in what they did, but we needed to expand its value and the functionality we provide and services we provided. Sure. But starting from a blank slate and understanding the IT world enough to know that, okay, I want to avoid technical debt. I want to make sure I have good relationships with the business areas. You kind of just get that rhythm. You're like, okay, this is awesome because I know what to avoid. I know how to make this successful. Right?
See the punches coming.
Yeah. And that's the journey I've taken with this. And so far we've been super effective. I have a great IT operations function. I have a fantastic business systems function that's specifically for business systems. And then most recently, data analytics, which will also incorporate AI over the top of that.
Man, I love the flow of everything. But you're right. I love what you said earlier about being humble. I love that combination of being humble and confident at the same time, right? Because obviously you got there for a reason. You learn by taking the path of not being comfortable, right? You're taking the risk. And it's paying off for you. Let me ask you a question because your company has doubled and you made some acquisitions. I want to touch on, mergers and acquisitions in general, right?
Sure.
It's a big thing. That's another thing that you're going to put on your, I guess on the resume or what you want to call it, or your portfolio, your personal portfolio. What does M&A mean, in respects to like what's IT's role within that space?
Wow. Yeah. So it's been, that in itself has been quite a journey. Even, with Loenbro, when I started there, a lot of the acquisitions we would have are smaller in nature, maybe a company of 20 people, maybe a company of 50 people, and sort of those tuck-in companies, easy to integrate, right? Maybe they use like QuickBooks for their financial system or something, right? Now they're going to integrate into our ERP system. Fantastic. No big deal. Use this email, I'll use that email. Piece of cake, right? But the interesting part of this is that was generally the perspective of the business, right? That IT had a lesser role. It's no big deal, But then as we progressed, we started getting into these larger acquisitions. And then most recently, one that is almost the same size as us, a little bit smaller, but sizable. And they
Wow.
have their own ERP system. They have their own HR system. They have their
Oh,
own
nice.
whatever, right? They have their own sales world, right?
Ooh,
Now it's like, okay, now what we IT need to have is a better seat at the table, right?
that's right.
Because without that, we're not going to have the success we have to have. You got to integrate your financial systems, number one, right? Make sure you're all working from the same set of books. And that's
Absolutely.
incredibly complicated. You got Salesforce as well. Salesforce, how do you do that?
Uh,
So what what I recognized pretty quickly with these larger acquisitions, and that's something I had to work with, senior leadership about too, is just to kind of help them understand as well, like, hey, this is a much bigger beast than we've had historically. And we as an IT organization aren't necessarily equipped to handle this large of an acquisition. We're
okay.
keeping the lights on. We got a little bit of progression going on with certain projects, but this is
Mm-hmm.
a beast. So we had to develop a good partnership, and we had to work with outside contractor or outside contracting companies to kind of develop that relationship and build that into the equation.
Wow, that's great. But you had to basically, educate the
Yeah,
organization to be able to allow them to, to adapt that type of partnership, right? So I'm assuming that you probably partner with like an integration organization, a consulting company to come in to help you with the transition because you still got your other job to do, right?
exactly. It's still really tough, and I've probably got probably I don't know 6 different consulting companies working on different things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's not like one particular company that we have for all integration, but we have specialty pieces like our Microsoft domain structure, Entra structure, making sure that we combine those together is a specific area in a company, a consulting
Okay.
company. Salesforce itself is another company that we're working with. And then we're just kind of working together to fold these in. Important thing though is you can outsource all you want, but there's still a big IT left. There's a lot of orchestration and navigation that needs to occur to make sure everybody's doing the right thing and that it all happens in a timely manner and identifying those key points that are dependencies.
Wow. And how recent was I guess this acquisition?
Yeah. So that was, trying to think now, that was January. Yeah,
Wow.
January. We haven't fully integrated yet. We are actually working on the Microsoft sort of ecosystem world, SharePoint, Teams, email, the domain structure. Working on that now, and
Okay.
that's going to be completed within the next 4 to 6 weeks, let's say.
Okay.
Salesforce integration is almost done. We're in the midst right now.
You got a lot of a lot of the chat, like different lanes, like different specialties going on. Did you have, and I guess when you have a skill set or that practice with the BRM, I mean, that kind of helps a lot, right? I mean, helps orchestrate this thing together. Cause he's right. Like you bring all these people in now, you got different practices from different organizations, right? You have, you're also dealing with the people aspect, but probably the most important part, right? The
Right.
people. And you're also probably doing a mini transformation going on at the same time. Like did you take advantages of any type of, leveling up from a, let's say, skill set perspective, or did you have to pick a platform, one or the other based on practices?
In terms of the systems and the integration between the
Yeah.
companies, yeah. A little bit, right? So there's certain systems that we recognized out of the gate. We look at the business systems function, which is an IT organization, right? An IT function within my team. It's important that they understand what business systems are in place at the company we're acquiring. And
Okay.
understand the value it's providing. And so we kind of went through the demos and understand how it works for that company. In particular, there was a system called Service Titan that the acquired company used. I didn't know
Okay.
anything about it. They were passionate about it, and I couldn't figure out why are you so passionate about this. But then I drink the Kool-Aid. I sat with them,
Mhm.
understood, use it, and like, wow, this is an amazing tool. And that's
Okay.
one of the, you know what, we're going to go reverse. We're going to adopt that for all of Loenbro.
Ah,
But key to these decisions, though, is incredibly important. As much as possible, you want to have that consistency and standardized use of applications and systems across the board. You really don't want to have, these companies with their own ERP systems or own Salesforce systems. You need to
oh,
combine them.
oh yeah. And that comes with, I'm assuming a great deal of change management.
It does. Yeah.
Uh,
Communication plan, support plan, training plan. You have to develop all those things as well.
so when you do, and I do reach out to you, your plate is full. You are busy. You got a lot going on, man.
It is super
That's
busy.
a lot, man. Congrats on this. I mean, so when do you think, would it, when did that to land? Like, would you say is scheduled to be all,
The
successfully migrated over? Yeah. When's the
end of the
finish?
year.
The end of this year.
Yeah. So we
All
have
right.
roughly 6 months to get both ERP systems integrated into one.
Okay.
We're still working out some of the requirements on that. So it's super aggressive stuff, but that's how we operate.
Yeah.
Loenbro is, I would venture to say, probably one of the more technology driven, industrial construction, electrical companies out there. And that's what we strive for, because we know at the center of it is technology, applications, data, information that's going to help drive us forward.
What made that, that was interesting. That decision, they went, to go in a different, pivot in a different direction. What was the, I guess the main business driver for that?
The data centers?
Yeah.
Data centers. Do I need to say more?
I know. I was kind of just giving you the layup there, right? But I would
No,
say
you did.
it's hot
You
right now,
did.
right?
No, it's incredibly hot, So in the Phoenix area, there's a lot of data center work that we do down there. There's just blooming everywhere across the United States and even outside. And we're trying to be that provider of electrical implementation for those data centers and those
All things
companies.
electrical when it comes to data centers.
Yep.
Right. So,
Yeah. I'm
obviously
not an electrician, so I assume yup. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what they do. It's some magical stuff that I don't understand.
they just get it done. Well, this whole, I'm assuming this big bill, $500 billion bill could be a great opportunity for you guys. I know I'm reading some of the research because I'm like all into AI and everything is AI data centers being popped up. It's absolute race right now.
Yeah.
Dubai as well. Do you guys do any type of international work as well?
Not quite yet, but
yeah,
keep an eye out.
I like it. But you guys are aggressive. I love to see that kind of stuff because I think, that's whole goes back to comfort or, take some risk and grow the company.
Exactly.
This is great, man. You gave me so many good nuggets here. What would you say some of the, you did touch on a few of them, but if you had to if you go through your career a little bit,
Sure.
your journey, what was the most, I guess, who's been the most influential to you? Because we all don't get there alone, right? Who's been the most influential to you to help you kind of, something that clicked for you or somebody that helped you? You mind sharing some of that?
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah. So, I think at Travelport, there were probably a few people, and the CIO at that time was very influential for me and helped me kind of understand the need for improving IT. And that's where that BRM function was created. And
Okay.
I do, there's even at Quarterstack as well, going there. Matt Melbrecht, I'll throw his name out there. He's an awesome guy.
He is.
Yes. And I think he was really influential with me too, because he's such a good leader and knows how to lead an organization properly and knows how to set those guide rails and communicate with senior management in the right way. He was not the person saying yes all the time. He would be fine with pushing back, saying, no, this doesn't make any sense. Think of another way. And it's important to know that's okay to push back, and you get more respect doing that than simply just doing what the business wants instead of needs.
Absolutely. I mean, managing up is a big part, what makes someone successful. That's really good. Thanks for sharing that. What would you say, let's say a couple lessons learned, like the biggest things that you say, man, I'm glad I went through that, man, because it helped me do X today.
Yeah. I mean, everybody will tell you failure is good because you learn from it. And I certainly agree with that. Right. But the one thing I would say that in addition to that, that is important to know from an IT perspective. If you're newer to IT and you're working through your career and you're at the beginning of it, I'm not sure which direction you want to take or anything like that. The most important thing you can do, no matter where you're at, whether it's help desk or, I don't know, tech support or programming or network administrator, whatever that might be, is know the business, build the relationships and know the business. Because the superpower for any IT person who, I mean, let's be real, right? A lot of IT folks, they're fairly introverted, a lot of those folks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. They have a certain set. But if you're able to break out of that shell and learn how the business functions, that is dynamite. You can go anywhere. I guarantee it. If you're like a sysadmin and you take the time to understand how finance works and how HR works and meeting those people and understanding it, you'll rock it.
Powerful stuff, man. I like that you said a superpower is for any IT folks is learning the business.
Absolutely.
That's big. And today, now the business, you tell me if this makes, I don't know if you agree with this or not, opinions, right? But with AI, does it level the playing field a little bit? Kind of like everybody becomes a little bit IT now. Like
it's a scary thing, right? I'm not a fan of citizen developers, right? This idea that that you get the business areas to kind of develop their own things. To me, it feels a little bit too much like Microsoft Access running on somebody's desktop, back in the day, and suddenly being business critical, and IT had to pick up the pieces and help them fix their problems. Not a fan of that, and I'm not a fan of whether that's business analytics and Power BI or whether that's an AI solution. Not a fan of the business developing their own solutions as such, unless you can kind of frame it up in a certain way. If it's business analytics, if it's AI, whatever, create the structure. You can have self-serve reporting, if you will. You can have self-serve AI, but we need to make sure that IT is still has that governance in place in terms of the technology space.
Absolutely. Shadow IT is what I'm hearing is becoming increasingly, it's faster than ever now.
It's tough and it's dangerous, and it certainly has its impact to AI and vice versa. But yeah, I mean, I think AI in general I have two sides, right? I got the angel and the devil sitting on my shoulders, and and I don't know which way it's going to go. Nobody really does, right? And I'm humble about that understanding. But certainly I have my own thoughts and opinions, which have been proven wrong historically. But let's see if I can get this.
I love.
Yeah. In my mind, most people think of AI as simply those LLM applications, ChatGPT, Claude.ai, and all those other things, which are very useful tools. But we're going to look back, probably 5 years from now and think those were tinker toys. And that was not AI anymore, right? And I think that's
Child's play.
super important to know, because business decisions today about AI and thoughts about AI are based on this very rough, crude preschool version of AI that we have today. And we've got to be really careful about that, because that's not where it's going, right? We're going more to agentic AI. We're going more towards much more intelligent AI solutions out there. And, I think we need to start thinking about that in the right way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, you mentioned me, like you took, proactive approach to this.
Yeah.
You mind sharing a little bit about like, what kind of practices did you just adopt in the organization to kind of put your arms around or some guardrails around AI?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, much like other companies, we didn't have a big knowledge base of AI going on. We didn't have a lot of AI skills within the company. So what I wanted to do is start the conversation. We're incredibly busy. Other companies have this same situation, right? Nobody has time for it. But I would argue, yes, you do, right? So if you take half an hour every Monday, which is what we did, I said, okay, we're going to create an AI center of excellence. And in this center of excellence, we're going to explore what AI is, what it means, and what sort of approaches we should take towards the adoption of AI in a responsible way.
Okay.
Define the roles within that center of excellence, the people that need to attend. I think there's like 6, maybe 7. And it's a half an hour each week to have the discussion. And you start peeling away layers of onions. Okay, what types of AI are out there today? What are the doom and gloom scenarios of AI? What are the positive things of AI? Where's it going to go? And just start getting everybody to think about it, not just to, but have the conversation again. And you come to the table being humble. I don't know a ton about AI. Neither does anybody else. Let's just start having that conversation. So through that process, we would bring in various guests, as you will, to help us understand a little bit more about AI, and maybe even understand some products that are available and have some demos and things like that. And it's part of the educational process.
I love it. I look back and, just everything you shared with me today, that whole BRM skills set or that department. I mean, this is in play right now, right? Like you're bringing it together. Like you're saying, you know what, let's learn this together. Right. Versus going your own, because at the end of one of the things I love to say, I think it's a great quote, like start the conversation. You want to start the conversation. I love it. You need to own that. You need to coin that. I'm telling you right now, that's a powerful, it means a lot. That hit me. I was like, you know what? He was on, because I have a big belief. I'm always on offense. I say that a lot. You have to always be on offense, and you owning that conversation, because you have to protect the business too.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the end of the day, right? It all falls on, from an IT perspective, it falls on you.
Yeah.
And AI is, obviously there's a lot of opportunity, but there's also, a lot of things that you're welcoming into your organization. And if you don't know what the heck you're doing, the business could have, the best intentions in the world, right? They just want to solve problems like you. They want to move the company forward just like you do. And, you're doing it together and you can protect them that way. I love it, man. I give you a
Yeah.
lot of big high five on that one, man. This is good
Yeah. No, I
stuff.
appreciate it. Yeah.
And
We've had,
is it acceptance? Like, have you got any, like, people have joined and they're participating? Are they buying into
yeah. No, it's interesting. So mostly yes. Right.
okay.
Because we have some really within Loenbro, we have some people that are super passionate about AI, even if they don't know exactly what it is. We're starting the discussion. So the interesting thing though, is that over the course of, it's probably been about 2 months. So we've had these Monday meetings.
Okay.
Some people stop attending, it always happens, right? And it's
Skip
like
a couple of Mondays.
everybody attends the first meeting, right? And then it slowly diminishes, but it's bringing value back in. So now we're actually going to do some proof of concept stuff with Copilot and unstructured data and demonstrate not only proof of concept, but how we can use this proof of concept to effectively drive an AI solution for the change that we're going under with this integration, with this M&A integration.
Mm.
So what we're going to do is, for instance, so many things are happening in the business side when we integrate systems, right? Suddenly
Sure.
overnight, Salesforce changes and how you work within Salesforce, or the PO process changes for the finance organization. Well, how do I do this now? Right.
That's right.
We're creating FAQs and how-to documents. Going to be
I
super
like that.
important. You throw that into SharePoint, then you overlay that with Copilot, and now all I have to do is ask the question, and it'll pull from many different types of documents. It'll just give you instant answers. So we're going to utilize that within this integration activity. It also becomes a proof of concept for AI.
That's great. Which is good. You're going to get a nice, win out of that, right? That's
Yeah,
safe. It's within your organization in the walls, right? So, I mean, I love that. It's collecting W's, right? Get in the win column, and then you can just start building that momentum. I'd love to see. If I had a fast forward, I always say that. I wish I had a fast forward button, right?
yeah.
See what it's going to be like. Think about the maturity level where it's going to be at a couple of years from now. What is your big bet? Like, if you had to, you're a technologist and for 30 years, what's your big bet? Let's say 3 years, 5 years from now, from an AI perspective.
Okay, I'm going to go 5 years, and in today's time frame, that's probably 20 years, right? So in 5 years, we're going to go way farther than we ever would have imagined, right?
Okay.
And I think I'm going to be a little bit skeptical, probably more than most IT folks.
Okay.
I think there's huge benefits for AI if we use it right, right? The medical field, oh my gosh, right? Curing cancer and different things. I think it can actually do that. I have a lot of faith in that. Now, the job replacement thing is quite interesting. And I do think there's that concern, and I think it's real. And when I see that firsthand with my son, programmer out of college, suddenly, they don't need him as much anymore, right? It's going to happen quite a bit more. But I think that's where, as a society, we have to have a culture shift. We have to change the way we think about human professions, and we have to think more about the value that blue collar professions bring to the table. I think that's where our educational system has to completely be overhauled. I mean, in my opinion, it's a mess, and we need to really drive up those blue collar workers that are using their hands to do things that AI can't touch.
Oh yeah,
right?
for sure.
So I think that's going to be super critical. And then if you couple that, you go further down the road in the future, and you couple that with depopulation, which is a real problem. That's where AI can actually work to our benefit. You have less people in the world, less people doing it. So you need AI to fill in the gaps.
Absolutely.
Now we may be going on this AI path faster than we get to the depopulation problem, but it'll work out. But I'm a little concerned about the AI path, but for the next few years, there's going to be some incredible value out of it. I'm super happy that people are having the discussions about AI, and that skeptics are coming to the table as well. You got to hear all those voices.
Absolutely. I mean, you're right. I mean, I love what you said there. I mean, we have a little same philosophy there, because we get exposed, and we have a nice AI practice and a great leader that's supporting that area. But he's big in his mindset and his belief. AI is like filling the gaps. It should augment, it's not necessarily replacing, and make us faster, smarter, better, right?
Sure.
But I'm with you on that. I think that workforce transformation is going to happen a little faster than my only thing is going to happen faster than 5 years for sure. It's already pushing. And, I think if these organizations that are proactive, like start the conversation and own the conversation, like you guys, like the position that you took there, I just think that you're going to put your organization in a way better space, because you got to have guardrails in this thing. It can get out of hand. There's a lot of bad actors out there. It's a little scary, right? That's another thing that keeps me up. You mentioned, I know you mentioned every area of your organization, but tell me about security. I didn't mention you hear security. Do you outsource, or do you how do you have somebody dedicated to that space, like a security officer or anything like that?
Yeah. So with security, we handle all of our own security.
Good.
And obviously we check all the boxes. We're kind of advancing towards CMMC level 2 certification is kind of what the goal we want to get to. We're not there yet, but that's kind of in the forefront. I will say this though. So interestingly, when you start in IT in the 90s, right? IT is a small world. Then it actually is just laptops and computers and network cabling, all that kind of stuff. Maybe some switches and routers, right?
Oh yeah.
But as you know, as IT has grown over the decades, it's become a beast, right? So I don't know a ton about security and cybersecurity. That's not my forte. I know enough to be dangerous, to bring in the right people that can do that. So I don't have to worry about it, because it's so difficult these days to know everything about everything, especially in the IT world. And it's okay to be uncomfortable with that as well for our future leaders. It's okay not to know everything about everything.
You're absolutely right, man. I mean, I tell people, especially people not in IT, it's like saying the medical field. Like there's so many specializations, right? There's IT is as complex as that is.
Yeah, I'm not going to expect my podiatrist to do heart surgery. Hopefully not. Oh. No.
You don't have that many skills. They can't learn that many. I would run away.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, that's a really good point, brother. I can't thank you enough, man. I mean, you know what, man? You're a humble guy, man, and you've done a lot. You've done a lot, man. You've done
right.
And thanks for sharing what you shared today, because it wasn't a PowerPoint. It was authentic. It was real, man.
No, I appreciate that. And, I mean, it's been a journey, and I've been lucky. I'm sure there's a little bit of skill set in there, but, I think we all need to recognize our genuine selves and make sure that even as we become leaders, we don't put up the masks, and we just remain the people that we should be.
I just had a conversation I got introduced to him. His name is Joe Hernandez. We're going to be recording this episode in a couple of weeks. It's going to be similar. He said almost identical. We have to be ourselves. Like the masks and stuff, like we all got here for a reason. Everybody has a different path, whether you went cert route, whether you went college route. We're here and we got here for a reason, and we just can't forget that, so. You're right. And, thanks for sharing that, because sometimes I think, especially a lot of new generation, they think it's a lot of, credentials that get you there. I mean, those help. Those are important. I don't devalue them at all. But what gets you there is like being humble, good to people. It's a people business. It's not just technology. It's people first, process. Then the tech is just the enabler, in my opinion. But, becoming a little bit more, a bigger seat now, right? Because of how advanced it's going. But at the end of the day, that liaison, including the business. Another CIO said to me that resonated with me during this podcast this is what's fun about this job for me. He said, IT is the business. What do you mean you got to learn the business? IT is. I was like, man, that was really good. So his is coming out soon too. So I can't wait to, I'll forward you his information, the podcast when it launches.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm looking forward to that. This is going to be a good one. I believe people are going to resonate. Kenny, thank you a lot. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. I'll be out there actually next week. Right now, how's the weather in Denver today? Because you know me, I'm South Florida guy. I still summer over there, right?
It's a little cooler over here. I think it'll be maybe 80 today, which is kind of nice. So not too bad.
That's going to be really nice for me, because no humidity for at least a few days.
Right, you'll enjoy that.
The windows is pouring out. You know how it is, Florida. It'll pour out, and then all of a sudden it's sunny again. Then it's more hot. But I'd rather have that than cold.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's this double-edged sword for sure. So, yeah. The other thing I want to mention though is I'm big into mentorship. So if anybody wants to contact me on LinkedIn. Just if you want to ask a question, if you actually want to have, if there's any new IT leaders out there who just want to meet and get some mentoring of any sort, I'm open to that.
I mean, that's that. Thanks for saying that, man, because that's what we're all about. We're not doing this for, fees, and we're not doing this. We're not monetizing this. This is purely to pay it forward. And I just think that that's a great example of what you just did right now. I know you're busy. I mean, every CIO at that level of
Mhm.
responsibility, you guys are very busy. And to offer that out there, that says a lot about you, man. So thank you for doing that. So the best way to contact you is through LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm there. So, all right.
Thanks, Kenny. You're the man.
No, I mean, I appreciate it. It's been fantastic. A lot of fun.